and welcome back to my kitchen. If you are new here, my name is Claudia, a passionate home cook who likes to share her love for Portuguese cuisine. On Tuesdays, I post a recipe video, and on Saturdays, I post more of a vlog style video. Currently, I'm doing a 75 hardish. I'm working on losing 40 pounds this year. So if that is something that interests you, please subscribe. It's a special day tomorrow. It's my birthday, and to celebrate, I'm making one of my absolute favorite comfort foods, a hearty beef stew. We're using rich, flavorful short ribs and tender beef shoulder, all baked to perfection in the oven. It's quick, it's delicious, and it's the perfect way to celebrate and warm up on a cozy day like this. I don't know where you are, but here in Toronto, it's been really cold this week, and they're predicting next week will be cold as well. I mean, it's January, so every year for my birthday it's cold. So this is one of my favorite dishes. So let's go over the ingredients. So of course, the star of the dish, we're gonna need some short ribs, and you want them cut a little bit thicker, and some beef shoulder, and I've cut them into big chunks as well. I'm gonna be using some baby potatoes, and this is like a bag of mixed baby potatoes. You can also make mashed potatoes. We're trying to keep the calories a little bit low. Here we have some carrots that I've cut into big chunks. We're also gonna need some diced carrots. We're gonna need diced onions, some flour. You can also use gluten-free flour, tomato paste, some thyme, bay leaves, and garlic. And we're gonna need some beef broth. I'm gonna use Better Than Bouillon beef broth. We're gonna need some red wine. I'm using this Portuguese red wine. Of course, olive oil, salt and pepper for the meat, and everything is gonna be done in a brazier. You can also use a Dutch oven, so preferably something that you can cover and bake in the oven. So let's get into it. Bora cozinhar. So my meat has been sitting out for about 20 to 30 minutes, just so it's not cold when it goes into the warm pan. We're gonna season it with salt and pepper on all sides. So you wanna give it a good seasoning. So have about 1.5 pounds of short ribs and 2 pounds of shoulder here. So now we're going to heat up our olive oil in our brazier. So when our olive oil is hot, we're gonna start searing our meat. And we're gonna have to do it in batches. You wanna sear on all sides. So don't overcrowd the pan when you're searing. It's so tempting to skip the searing phase, but don't skip it, because this is going to add so much flavor to your dish. So once you have seared it on all sides, then you can transfer it to a dish. And sear the remaining pieces. If your pan is too dry, you can add a bit more olive oil to it. So now all our beef is done. We're gonna add in the onions. And the diced carrots. And we're going to try to scrape the bottom of the pan just to get all those brown bits off. I'm going to add a little bit of salt because that helps the onions sweat out a little bit, adding more moisture to the dish, or adding more moisture to the pan. We're gonna let that go for about 5 to 7 minutes. So it has been 5 minutes, and I'm going to add in our garlic. And I'm gonna let that go for about 30 seconds to a minute, just until I smell that the garlic is fragrant. So now I'm gonna add in the red wine. And we're gonna let it reduce for 3 to 5 minutes. Scraping the bottom of the pan just to get all these brown bits. This is not burned. This is what's going to add a lot of flavor to our stew. It's going to create this beautiful broth. I'm not going hard on the pan. I'm just scraping it, but not really making a lot of effort. I don't know if that makes sense. So the wine has completely evaporated. As you can see, we have none of the wine left in the pan. And now we're gonna add in the tomato paste. And I'm gonna add in the thyme. And it's creating this beautiful paste. And now we're gonna add our meat back in. Let's add our meat back in, and we're gonna nestle it in this beautiful paste that we've created. So much flavor in here. We're also gonna add all the juices back in. Look how beautiful our stew is already. So delicious. So in here I have 1 cup of hot water, and I dissolved some of the bouillon in here, some of the better than bouillon in this 1 cup of hot water. I'm gonna add in our flour. And this is what's gonna thicken up our stew. So mix it up, make sure that the flour is completely dissolved, because we don't want any clumps in here. Any pieces of flour, we don't want that. I'm gonna use a strainer just because I can tell that there's still a little bit of clumps of flour, and I don't want that in my stew. Like we can tell, it's like here. I'm just gonna press that. Okay. Now we're going to add the remaining of the beef broth. What I'm doing is I just have some hot water, and I'm gonna add my bouillon in here. Before adding it into our beef. And for that, you're just using the instructions, like whatever you decide to use. Like if you have just beef broth, then you would just obviously not do this step. If you're using beef broth, you want to make sure that it's warm or hot when you're adding it into your meat, because you don't want to bring down the temperature of your dish. So here we are. I'm just going to give it a stir. Look how beautiful. Delicious. Okay, I'm just giving it a stir before I add in the potatoes and the carrots. Beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the heat. I'm gonna add in our bay leaves and give it a stir, mixing in the bay leaves. If you have a Dutch oven, that would be perfect, because as you can see, my pan is pretty full and we still need to add in the carrots and the potatoes. But not to worry. Now we're gonna add in the potatoes. You just wanna nestle them in. Don't worry if they're not covered. And I'm using a mixture of potatoes, like this is just the Little Potato Company, and it's just a mixture. It comes with like the red potatoes and the dark purple potatoes and the yellow potatoes. Okay, here is our beautiful stew ready to go in the oven. And now we're gonna cover it. So all the work is done. That is it, that's all you had to do. The oven's been preheating at 350. It goes in the oven now for 2 hours, and that is it. That's all. You might want to put a cookie sheet underneath the Dutch oven just in case it starts bubbling out. But yeah, so now I'll see you back here in 2 hours. And here we have our beautiful beef stew. It smells incredible. I'm telling you, this dish comes together so easy, and your guests will be so impressed by it. They're gonna think you slaved away for hours. Now, I made it with the little baby potatoes, but imagine over mashed potatoes, just perfect. Not that it's not perfect with the baby potatoes, it is. This is usually how we make it. I always just do the baby potatoes, because how easy is it? You just brown the beef, you add in the carrots and the potatoes, in the oven 2 hours, and it comes out beautifully. Look at the gravy. Perfect, just perfect. And the meat is nice and tender. This is such a beautiful dish. And you would think that 2 hours in the oven, the potatoes and carrots would turn into mush. Not so. It is perfect. And perfect every time I make it, it comes out perfect. Serve it with a side salad, maybe some steamed broccoli or some asparagus, and just a perfect meal. Oh, don't forget the nice buns, like maybe some dinner rolls. So now comes the most difficult part. I know I always say this, but today, really, this is the most difficult part. Let's taste our beef stew. My favorite part is the short ribs. Look at that. Oh my goodness, look at the sauce. Just perfect. Just such a beautiful dish. And so flavorful. Are you a fan of short ribs? I love short ribs like this. I love Korean short ribs on the barbecue, but in the stew like this, just braised short ribs in the, oh, just perfect. So let's have a taste. So good. Just look how tender the meat is. Just perfect. And the potatoes, the carrots are nice and sweet. You don't need a special occasion to make this dish. This is a great dish to make on the weekend where you have the time and you can prepare the meat and then cook it in the oven for 2 hours and then have a nice cozy dinner. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Let me know if you make it and hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching.